Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's the boy 10, and today we're checking out Russell Westbrook is going out sad by Flight Mike. Now, see, the thing with Russell Westbrook is with every athlete, in fact, there comes a time where your superpowers start to wane, the things that afforded you the benefits and things that you could get away with that other players couldn't. They start to catch up, and Father Time, Father Time catches up to everybody. There are people who can fight him off for a while, like LeBron, but not a lot of people have that superpower. And I think it really matters how superstars, aging superstars, are treated because the society is based off value. You're treated by how much value you can add to a company or society, and that's why you're compensated. You're paid the amount of money that you're paid. But it's also important that we need to give them this kind of respect, regardless, even when they're on their way out. I don't know what this video is going to tell us about Russell Westbrook, but let's find out. My bad.
First up, Russell Westbrook. He's coming off a productive season with the Nuggets where he averaged over 13 points and 6 assists per game. Mark, what's the best landing spot for Russ?
Well, the Kings are certainly interested in him. Sacramento, I think that might be a good spot for him.
Picture this. It's 2017. Russell Westbrook just averaged a triple-double for an entire season, which is something that hadn't been done since Oscar Robertson did it in 1962. He's holding the MVP trophy above his head. OKC Thunder fans are going absolutely berserk over this. After reeling from Kevin Durant's betrayal the season prior, this is exactly what they needed, knowing that one of their hometown heroes is good enough to be their franchise cornerstone. Russell Westbrook was here to stay, but you fast forward to August of 2025, and that same Russell Westbrook, one of the most explosive and dynamic point guards in NBA history, a future first ballot Hall of Famer, is now sitting home, unsigned, and watching training camps approach without him. This isn't just another washed up player story. This is about how one of the 15 greatest point guards to ever play the game went from MVP to potentially out of the NBA entirely. And
Why are people talking like this isn't a thing? Like, this is life, and Russell should be grateful that he this long enough, because there are people whose careers were cut short due to no fault of their own. Like Derrick Rose, for example. Derrick Rose, the youngest MVP in the NBA. Explosive, electric. He was something else in his prime, and then one injury just sent the rest of his career, into a plunge. But honestly, I don't know how Westbrook feels, but I think even if this is his last hurrah, if this is the end for him, I think there should be some sort of gratitude that he feels for having lasted this long, and even multiple peaks. Even after he was the explosive guy at OKC, he was still a very valuable player to the Nuggets. And not a lot of people can do that, adapt and be humble and swallow their pride of not being the number one guy anymore. And Russell is one of those guys, and I think he's a genuinely great person, at least from the way we see him on the media. But yeah, let's go.
craziest part is he only has one lifeline left, and it doesn't look too good. According to Jake Fisher from Bleacher Report, the Sacramento Kings, not the Los Angeles Lakers, not the Miami Heat, not even a desperate contender looking for veteran depth, are the only team that's interested in Russell Westbrook, and even that's a stretch. But this isn't anything new. What's happening to Russell Westbrook right now has happened before. It's happened to Allen Iverson. It's happened to Carmelo Anthony. It's happened to players who thought they'd play forever at an elite level until Father Time grabbed them by the jersey and said not anymore. So before we get to the content, we are giving away multiple copies of NBA 2K26 to a subscriber that turns on their notifications on this channel. A lot of people wonder how my
Work today is broken. We're all working in too many disconnected apps, and it's killing team productivity.
season's around the corner, and Dak Prescott just needs one pass, free 20 picks at one, and just did an incredible And thank you, Pride. Let's start with what just happened to Russell Westbrook in Denver, because this is where everything fell apart. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Mike, Russell Westbrook had a resurgent season in Denver, and that's where there's a lot of misinformation. A lot of people think that the Denver Nuggets simply didn't want Russell Westbrook back. But here's what actually went down, and this is important. Russell Westbrook bet on himself, and it blew up in his face in a phenomenal fashion. Westbrook declined his own $3.4 million player option on June 13th, 2025. He bet on himself to get a bigger contract elsewhere. According to ESPN, Westbrook thought he could do better than the veteran minimum. Now, let me paint you a picture of why this was the worst decision of Russell Westbrook's career. During his last season with Denver, Westbrook actually looked decent. He averaged 13.3 points, 6.1 assists, and 4.9 rebounds in about 28 minutes per game. Westbrook shot 44.9% from the field, which is not bad for a 36-year-old. The Jokic-Westbrook duo actually had some solid chemistry, and Westbrook finished 7th in 6th Man of the Year voting. Everything seemed fine, right? Wrong. Everything would change during the NBA playoffs, and oh boy, did the playoffs smack Westbrook in the face. The Nuggets faced his former team, the OKC Thunder, the team where he was a god, and Westbrook's performance was an unmitigated disaster. His playoff struggles were so bad, they essentially soured the Nuggets on bringing him back. Denver lost to the Thunder in the second round in 7 games, and Westbrook's inconsistency was a huge factor. But wait, it gets way worse. During the regular season, there was a complete dysfunction in the Nuggets organization. Remember, Michael Malone was fired with just 3 games left in the regular season, and Michael Malone was a huge proponent of playing established veterans as opposed to developing rookie talent. General manager Calvin Booth wasn't brought back either. ESPN reported that everybody in the organization was miserable, and there were reports that Malone was giving Westbrook preferential treatment similar to what Jokic and Jamal Murray received, which created friction with younger players like Jalen Pickett. And in the middle of all this chaos was Russell Westbrook thinking that he's worth more than $3.4 million and deciding to test free agency. The Nuggets immediately moved on, bringing back Bruce Brown and making it clear that they weren't interested in a reunion. So you might be wondering, why does nobody want Russell Westbrook anymore? Well, the story's a little sadder than you think. Let me be brutally honest with you about something that Sam Amico from Hoops Wire said. Amico stated that it would not be surprising if Russell Westbrook enters the upcoming season unsigned. Could you think about that for a second? This is a 9-time All-Star, the NBA's all-time leader in triple-doubles with 203, a former MVP who's 8th all-time in assists and 23rd all-time in points. And NBA insiders are basically saying that nobody wants him. Not for the minimum, not for a training camp invite, nothing. Here's the thing about Westbrook that nobody wants to say out loud. His game has become a liability in the modern NBA, and this was blatantly obvious during his time with the Los Angeles Lakers, where he was getting paid a supermax contract to essentially clog the paint for Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Westbrook is a career 30.5% three-point shooter. That's not just bad, that's we're going to leave you wide open and dare you to shoot bad. And I'm sure you guys have seen teams do this to Westbrook multiple times. At 36 years old, that explosive first step that made him unstoppable is gone. The athleticism that let him grab rebounds over 7-footers is fading fast. But it's not just the physical decline. His ex-agent Thad Fouché cited irreconcilable differences and basically stated that Westbrook lacked self-awareness about his declining value, and that was a huge reason why they parted ways. Pretty much, Russ still thinks that he's that.
I don't think so. I don't think he lacks awareness. I think he just, like it says, he's just betting on himself. He's in himself much more than what people might think of him. After all, people say anything, in the moment because that's how it appears. But when things unfold, they're the ones that change their minds and, backtrack immediately. When he came to the Nuggets, I remember there was all this talk that what the hell is he going to do on the team? Until he started showing flashes of, brilliance, and everybody was like, oh my God, is this the greatest duo again? The media will say whatever the media wants to say whenever the media wants to say, honestly. I think if he bet on himself, he probably has a reason to. I don't think a player like Russell Westbrook, who was able to, basically become a bench player, coming off the bench in the Nuggets, is a player that lacks awareness. You would think a player without awareness would be one who still thinks he's the number one guy. I think he knows very well the situation he's in and the place he is in his career. Whether him choosing to back out of the player option, out of the veteran minimum money, was a bad idea or not, only time will tell. But I do not think this is a lack of awareness situation. If anything, Russell Westbrook is one of the players who has shown that humility takes you further, because without humility, the Nuggets run wouldn't have happened. Without him being able to fit into the system and not be the guy that the system surrounds, was honestly, for a superstar, for Russell Westbrook, that shows a lot of awareness, in my opinion.
2017 MVP, but the league sees a turnover-prone, non-shooting guard who can't play defense anymore. The Clippers gave him the perfect situation 2 years ago. Coming off of the bench, play 22 minutes a night, you don't have to carry the offensive load, and do you know what? Westbrook thrived. A career-high 48.9% from the field. He accepted his role. He even volunteered to go to the bench when James Harden was traded to the team.
Exactly, and this has even been from the Clippers. This is not a lack of awareness situation, in my opinion. This is somebody who knows very well what his position is. So every decision is probably informed. It's not reckless.
Lou even said that Russell Westbrook saved them during the final 20 games when the Clippers had injuries. But even after all of that, after proving he could be a solid role player, the Clippers let him walk. They'd rather have nothing than have Russell Westbrook.
The RGB on this gaming setup is reacting to the Valorant spike timer. You can do this.
This is where things get really interesting and kind of sad, if I'm being honest. Jake Fisher, an insider from Bleacher Report, has been adamant about one thing, and as recently as August 20th, 2025, he dropped this bombshell, saying that we are still waiting to see what other moves could come in Sacramento before the Kings try to bring in Russell Westbrook. And that's been the one home all along that we really have looked at for Russell Westbrook, and that's still the home that I've heard earlier this week that is the most likely outcome for Russell Westbrook if he's going to be in the NBA at all. But Fisher went even further. Honestly, that's really the only home we've heard for him. The Sacramento Kings, a team that missed the playoffs last year, a team that is pretty much the laughingstock of the NBA after trading De'Aaron Fox to the San Antonio Spurs and getting Zach LaVine from the Chicago Bulls, a team that had already signed Dennis Schroeder to a 3-year, $45 million deal to be their starting point guard this offseason, a team that doesn't really have great guard depth. I mean, they have Malik Monk, and they have Devin Carter, and they have Dennis Schroeder, and they have Markelle Fultz. I mean, Russell Westbrook would essentially be the backup to the backup point guard on this team, and this kind of shows you how far Westbrook has fallen. The Kings are actually debating whether to sign him at all. According to ESPN, league sources consider the Sacramento Kings the most likely destination for Westbrook, who will turn 37 during the first month of the season. Westbrook himself seems optimistic though. In his personal newsletter, he recently wrote, "It's no secret that there's news about where I'll end up on the horizon, and I appreciate y'all's interest, but just hold tight, there's more to come."
See? That sounds like a man who knows what's going on in his career. That sounds like a dude who at least has, not someone who just blindly turned down money because, of pride or ego. That sounds like somebody who has a plan, who has made informed decisions. He said, hold on tight, there's more to come. Y'all are out here talking about all these things and where I might go and where I might end up. Relax. There's more to come, And I believe him, bro. I believe him.
That sounds like a man who still believes he has options, even as NBA insiders are basically writing his basketball obituary. 37 years old, let that sink in for a moment. We're talking about a player who's about to enter his 18th NBA season, and he's still holding out hope that someone, anyone, will give him a chance. Now, let me tell you why Westbrook's situation is giving me some serious deja vu. We've seen this movie before. We've seen former faces of the NBA fade off into the sunset, and a lot of times it's not pretty. And you guys know my favorite example is Carmelo Anthony. Do you remember 2018? Carmelo was coming off of a disappointing year in Oklahoma City where he refused to come off the bench, famously laughing at the suggestion. He signs with the Houston Rockets for the minimum, plays 10 games, and then the Rockets basically had to tell him to get lost. The official statement was that they parted ways, but everyone knew what that meant. You're done, Carmelo. For an entire year after that, 365 days, Carmelo Anthony, a 10-time All-Star and one of the greatest scorers in NBA history, a player who, without a doubt, would have had a much different career if the Detroit Pistons didn't select Darko Milicic over him, could not find a single team that was willing to sign him. Not for the minimum, not for a training camp invite, nothing. Teams were scared that he wouldn't accept a reduced role, that he'd be a locker room problem, and that his defense was too.
Well, you see, that's the difference. It's not deja vu because Carmelo's choices reflect a theme of ego. He didn't come off the bench. Russell Westbrook has no problem coming off the bench. That has never been his issue from the Clippers to, to the Nuggets. He's basically, he knows what he has and what he can offer, and he's able to swallow his ego and pride and understand that his glory days are over, and now he's just trying to be on the team. He's just trying to help the team win. Those are two different people, in my opinion. Carmelo laughing at the idea of coming off the bench, and Russell, who has proven that he can take a role player position if needed. He doesn't mind. Those are two different people, if you ask me.
Too much of a liability. Does that sound familiar? Finally, in 2019, the Portland Trail Blazers had nothing to lose. They took a chance on him with a non-guaranteed deal. And you know what Carmelo said about accepting a bench role? He would say, I had to swallow that pill. It took him being completely out of basketball for a year to realize that he wasn't a superstar anymore. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Allen Iverson went through the exact same thing. In 2009, Memphis asked him to come off the bench. He left the team after 3 games, and when he retired, he said, I was so happy when I was done. I didn't want to deal with the media anymore. These guys couldn't accept what Father Time was telling them. They still saw themselves as the players that they were 5 years earlier, and it cost them years off of their careers. But if you take a look at the numbers, it makes a lot of sense. I've done a deep dive into All-Stars that recently were forced into retirement, and the numbers will shock you. Carmelo Anthony started struggling at the age of 34, Allen Iverson at 34, Dwight Howard's real decline started at 32, Blake Griffin fell off of a cliff at 31, John Wall, who just announced his retirement in August of 2025, was basically done at the age of 30 due to injuries. The average age when former superstars become role players or wash out completely is 33 and a half years old. Russell Westbrook is about to turn 37. Last year, Westbrook averaged 13.3 points per game. Solid for a bench player, but a far cry from his MVP days. His role has been reduced to 6th man on his last 3 teams. And according to NBA.com, executives around the league view him as a question mark. But here's the stat that really tells the story. Russell Westbrook's playoff performances have become increasingly erratic. For a point guard, especially who prides himself on leadership in clutch moments, inconsistency in the postseason is basketball death. It's like a surgeon whose hands start shaking in the middle of surgery, or a pilot who can't see straight anymore. The very thing that defines you is officially gone. Now, you might be wondering what happens if Sacramento says no. Well, according to NBA.com, after that, once camp begins, the best basketball option for those who remain on the market will be overseas. And Sam Amico also said that he would not be surprised if Westbrook enters the season unsigned. There's been some noise about overseas interest. In our last video on the topic, we covered how Hapoel Tel Aviv was offering Westbrook a potentially record-setting European contract. But those rumors were quickly debunked as 100% fake news by the club itself. Westbrook turned down whatever overseas opportunities existed, and he's still holding out hope for that NBA lifeline. But think about this.
Who says he turned down any overseas money? The team just came out to deny the rumor. Who says he turned down anything?
We're just weeks away from training camp starting in October of 2025. If Sacramento doesn't pull the trigger, Westbrook will be sitting at home watching NBA games on TV, just like you and me. And once the season starts without him, it's officially over. No team is signing a 37-year-old point guard who can't shoot in the middle of the season unless there's a catastrophic injury situation. And this is how careers end in the modern NBA. It's not always with a farewell tour like Kobe Bryant or Dirk Nowitzki. It's not with a championship like David Robinson or Ray Allen. But sometimes you go out sitting on your couch waiting for a phone call that never comes, which I guess is way better than the way Paul Pierce went out because he had 0 points, 0 rebounds, and 0 assists in his final game. The saddest part about this is Westbrook did have the blueprint for how to extend his career, and he literally watched it in real time. Derrick Rose was another former MVP whose body betrayed him even earlier than Russell Westbrook. We were robbed of Derrick Rose's prime, but he successfully...
Derrick Rose was going to be a nightmare, man. Derrick Rose, if the injury never happened, he was going to go on to accomplish something. Honestly, would have placed him in a much higher position as a generational player than he is placed now. You know, he was a beast, man. He was electric. He was electrifying. He was entertaining. He was, He just had all the makings of a superstar. Youngest MVP. Write down in the comments how many MVPs you think Derrick Rose would have won without the injury. Just put it down. I'm thinking at least three. At least three. That Derrick was special, man.
Transitioned into a bench role. He played until he was 35. He had meaningful moments, contributed to winning teams, and he wasn't the only player that was able to do this. Dwight Howard, after years of being a problem child, accepted a reduced role with the Los Angeles Lakers in 2020 and won a championship. Even Carmelo Anthony, after his year in exile, came back and had 2 solid seasons in Portland, where he averaged double-digit points and earned respect for his professionalism. But all of those guys had to hit rock bottom first. They had to be humbled. They had to, as Melo said, swallow that pill. The question is, has Russell Westbrook hit rock bottom yet? Declining that $3.4 million option in Denver suggests that he hasn't.
Come on, bruh. What do you mean he hasn't hit rock bottom? What do you mean? He was clowned in the Lakers. He came off the bench for the Clippers. He came off the bench for the... This is a dude who has consistently shown that, look, he just wants to play. That's all he wants to do. Play. And if he feels like the veteran minimum was a slap in his face, then he has every right to feel like that, man. We're not him, we don't know, but that doesn't show ego per se. It just shows like, damn, I know what I'm worth. And if he feels like he's worth more than that, then hey, you know, that doesn't scream ego to me. Someone who has consistently come off the bench, no. That's a dude who still bets on himself. That's a dude who knows that he still has gas left in the tank. And even though the stats aren't great, they are not magnificent as it used to be. Russell's glory days are over, you know, as a superstar, as the electrifying guy that he used to be. That's for sure. That's not arguable. But if he still feels like he has gas left in the tank, then who are we to tell him what? You know, that's how I feel personally.
Still thought he was worth more. He still thought teams would be lining up for his services, and he thought wrong. In interviews, Westbrook has said, if I'm here, if I'm there, I'll do whatever the team is asking me to do.
Exactly. Does this scream ego to you? I will do what the team needs me to do. You know? And if he feels like 3.5 is still not for his abilities, then hey, not everybody is Russell Westbrook, okay? Yeah. And if, you know, after all, Clay turned down some money from Golden State. Some things are just beyond the money. It's not about the money. It's about what the money says, you know? After all, Clay left Golden State. They didn't throw him out. They offered him money, and he felt disrespected by the amount that he was offered, and he went to the Mavericks. It's not about the money. These guys are multi-millionaires. You know, it's not really about the money. It's about what the money says. And maybe he didn't like what the money was telling him.
But actions speak louder than words, and when you decline a guaranteed contract at 36 years old with no other offers on the table, you're still living in la la land. Look guys, I've been lucky and blessed to be covering the NBA for 6 years. It's actually our 6-year anniversary in July, and from the bottom of my heart, I wanted to thank you because I've been able to do my dream job each and every day for the last 6 years and built a community of over 1 million subscribers that very much value the news that I bring to them. And a huge part of that is I've seen a lot of careers end, but there's something particularly brutal about watching Russell Westbrook's slow motion downfall. This isn't just any player. This is a guy who changed how we thought about triple doubles. He made them routine when they used to be special. We were spoiled during Russell Westbrook's prime. Westbrook played with a passion and...
Come on, man. Brody, why not? You just had to be there, man. You just had to be there.
Intensity that was must-see TV every single night. But unfortunately, he is not the same player anymore, and the league has moved on. It's become a spacing and shooting league, and Westbrook is the antithesis of that. Teams would rather have a 23-year-old G League player who can shoot 38% from 3 than a future Hall of Famer who can't space the floor. And Jake Fisher summed it up perfectly when he said on August 20th, 2025, that Sacramento is the most likely outcome for Russell Russell Westbrook if he's gonna be in the NBA at all. That if is doing a lot of heavy lifting. We're not talking about where he'll sign anymore, we're talking about whether he'll sign at all. The Sacramento Kings have until training camps start in October to make a decision. If they pass, Russell Westbrook will enter the 2025-26 season as an unsigned free agent. And based on the history of players in similar situations, Iverson never played after the age of 35. Melo retired at 39 after struggling to find consistent playing time. Blake Griffin retired at 34. At that point, the odds of Westbrook ever playing meaningful basketball again will drop to almost zero. And this is how it ends for most superstars. Not with glory, but with silence. Not with standing ovations, but with unreturned phone calls. Not with one more year chance, but with executives privately saying that he's cooked. And I don't want this to seem offensive to Russell Westbrook because he revolutionized the point guard position. He made the triple-double commonplace through sheer repetition. He won an MVP award through pure will and determination when everyone said that Kevin Durant leaving would destroy him. But none of that matters now. In the NBA, you're only as good as your last playoff series. And Russell Westbrook's final playoff series was a disappointing exit against his former team in Oklahoma City. At the end of the day, he had a very long career, 17 years in the NBA. He secured over $500 million in wealth and is very close to being a billionaire currently. He has other pursuits outside of the NBA, and even though he's never won a championship, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer that had a remarkable career in the NBA, is a former MVP, and he should be very proud of the career he had. This once overdrafted player out of UCLA is without a doubt a top 15 point guard in NBA history. And if this is the way Russell Westbrook goes out, then I have to say it was truly a joy to watch him. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've given you guys my thoughts on Russell Westbrook, bro. I don't agree completely with everything that he's saying, but I do see where he's from. I also think time will tell, man. If this is the end for Russell, like I said, he should be grateful, man. 17 seasons, playing the game he loves, that he dreamt of as a child, playing against his idols and legends and, friends and colleagues. Was there a better way to go out? Yes. But, it's still a massive opportunity. It's still a massive flex and massive thing to have spent 17 years in one of the biggest and greatest and most well-known basketball associations in the world. Doing that as your job, making all this money, it's an amazing thing to say about your life and your career. If this is it, then this is it. But if he says, more to come, then I believe him, I don't think he's a dude that makes decisions brashly. I think he's a dude that's very intentional about his where he is and where he's going. Thank you guys for watching. If you want me to cover more NBA content like this, I'd be happy to. I don't know a lot of the history, but I'm a huge NBA fan. So I'll give my thoughts here and there. If you guys enjoy this, drop it in the comments if you want more videos like this, if you enjoyed it. Check out my other channel for more reflections. And yeah, I'm out. See ya. Peace.